Okay, we're back. I just zested and squeezed 2.5 lemons. I have saved 1/2 in case you don't have the lemon juicer that I had that did the other two. This is a great tool. If you don't have it, don't fear. We're gonna grab a fork and the lemon. If you can see the seeds, you can flick them out. Go ahead and do that. And then if you think there's a lot of seeds in here, you can hold it up and squeeze this lemon through your hand, and your hand will catch the seeds. See some more? Boop. And it went in. I'll get it out of there.
Cool.
I'll just fish them out with a fork.
So you can just make your own juicer with a fork.
Yeah, fork is a great little juicer.
And can you show me how much zest you did?
So that's the zest that came from 3 lemons. They were sad little lemons that are kind of leathery and soft feeling. So I knew I needed to deal with them. They're not going to give up their zest like big, plump, brand new, fresh lemons would. Be a lot more zest that would come up. But that's okay because the lemon oil that's in there is still pretty potent and it's going to get the job done.
So you zested 3 lemons.
Yep.
You juiced them.
Yep.
And you got rid of the seeds. So now you've got a bowl of zest and a bowl of juice.
Bowl of juice.
Okay.
So in the bowl of juice, I'm going to add a cup of powdered sugar. This is our icing for the top.
And what our viewers at home didn't see is that you did a taste test with your beer to make sure that the beer tastes good.
To make sure it's pairing appropriately. And I'm here to tell you that it is. Seeds. That was a very seedy little lemon. Okay. I'm going to let this absorb. You can see it's super liquidy. I'm going to add another cup of powdered sugar to that in a minute once this powdered sugar is all dissolved.
Okay.
So it's not lumpy, it'll be nice and smooth. I'm gonna set this behind me, we're gonna work on the cake.
Awesome.
Bread. Don't call it cake. So we have to grate some zucchini. I grated 1 zucchini, I need 2 cups. This is about 1 cup plus. I always put in a little more zucchini than what the recipe calls for because I like it and it keeps the cake moist and it always works.
I can't believe you just used the word moist. Everybody hates the word moist.
Not as much as I hate the word scrumptious. It's got the word scrump in it, just saying. Okay. Back to the zucchini.
So you're doing even the peel.
Yes, don't skin it, just wash it. I cut the bottom off, the little nub, the little belly button, that little part. I just cut that off before I started. It's right here.
Uh-huh.
I didn't use it.
Now, would you use the zucchini nub in your stuff that you're setting aside for stock?
Again, I don't put zucchini in the stock.
Okay.
It's not bringing a whole lot to the flavor party.
Okay. So that's not a place that you would use that particular scrap.
No. That's just going to go into compost.
Okay.
Bunny food. So this bowl is lined with a towel. It's lined with a towel because we have to squeeze this and get the liquid out of the zucchini so that it doesn't really sog down our cake or bread. You got to squeeze it. So we're going to bundle it up. And just keep turning the towel. And it'll start, I'll put this on the board now. Letting go of its water. It's a pretty spring green color. This will turn your towel a little bit green, but it will wash out also.
Okay.
So don't worry.
It's not permanent.
Nope. And when I made zucchini muffins, lemon zucchini muffins at Black Pearl, the restaurant where I work, last fall for the brunch menu, I would save this liquid and throw some orange juice in with it and chug it, and it's a really nice green juice.
Oh my gosh.
Green stuff's good for you.
Yeah.
Juiced green stuff is really good for you. And so I don't waste this. I am going to put it aside, and I'm going to put some
I
juice
imagine
in.
that would be really refreshing.
It is really refreshing. Again, it's really nice full-on zucchini flavor, which is really, really nice. I like it, and it tastes like summer.
That's awesome.
It was sunny for 10 minutes yesterday, so I thought, oh, we're doing a summer dish today.
Yeah, it didn't work out today.
Not so much now, but you know, that was just first spring. Now we're on third fall or winter or something like that.
Michigan is not for the faint of heart.
It is not. It's not for those that want to plan things either.
That's why we so heavily invest in cheese and beer. That's what gets us through the long, dark,
Yes.
complicated winter.
That's what makes us good, solid Midwesterners. Speaking of Midwesterners, I have to say, I'm not really a hugging type. But even I'm in stores, like bumping into people I know going, how do we not hug each other? I
You got a social distance, dude.
Oh man, it's hard. It's hard. I get it. Not hugging. Not hugging.
So it seems like you're doing this for a good 2 or 3 minutes and you're putting some real muscle into it.
I am.
So
But it's pretty good.
I have ineffectual little girl hands.
You do. I've seen them.
Right here are ineffectual little girl hands. I couldn't do that much muscularity. Is there any alternative to that?
You can give it some squeezes and set it in a colander and let it wait and sit. Some of that will drain out naturally and then come and give it another couple twists.
Okay.
You can press it between heavy things.
All right.
That could work. That's going to be my wet bowl, so I can sit that in there. I'm going to pour this in a glass.
Could you
Save
put
it.
vodka in with that and make it a cocktail?
Sure.
I feel like we should tell Melissa that. Oh my gosh, can you just hold that up and show how green it is?
I know, right?
That's really cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Smells like zucchini. It's really lovely. Okay. So. Now. We have our zucchini. You can see it's a little flakier. A little drier. Good. You will work it up nicely. Shake that out in the sink.
Don't think that was exactly shaking it out in the sink.
Oh, it will.
I believe that was throwing it towards the sink.
Whatever works. Okay, now baking goes like this. Baking recipe is going to have dry ingredients and it's going to have wet ingredients, and we're going to have 2 bowls. When I make a recipe at the restaurant, I have my wet bowl list and my dry bowl list. The dry bowl list is going to go first. It's going to have our flour, 2 cups of flour, AP flour. All purpose.
What is AP flour?
All purpose.
Oh, okay.
Your general flour. And it's going to have our leavening agents. These are the things that make it bubbly and rise. It's going to have baking soda and baking powder. And I'm excited when I come across a recipe that has both, because I studied what baking soda and baking powder are made of and what they do. And it's good to have a fast-acting leavening agent and a slower-acting leavening agent. The only difference between these two, baking soda, this is baking soda plus cornstarch. So this one gets to get down with its bubbly self quick and easy in a recipe, and this one is made to wait a little bit until we get about 3/4 of the way from through the baking process, and then this one will activate too. So it's good to have both in a recipe. I like having both. This is 1 teaspoon of baking soda.
You're going to post the recipe later though, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And then just 1/4 of the baking powder.
So if we don't pay attention to all of this.
You don't have to pay attention. Boop. The process is really more important to pay attention to than the actual amounts, because I will post the recipe. And then sugar is a wet ingredient that's going in our wet bowl, not our dry bowl.
Why is sugar a wet ingredient?
Because it dissolves. It's water soluble. It's a fast water soluble.
Huh.
Yep.
Science.
I know, right? Lemon zest, that's dry. That's going in here. Then we're going to take a spoon and we're going to mix our flour and the lemon zest and those leavening agents that we put in there, and really mix them throughout the flour. This is key. This is like, why don't my things come out as light and fluffy as your things whenever I show someone how to bake something? And it's because of this. Because I stop and take my leavening agents, the baking soda and the baking powder, and I stir it in the dry flour. It looks like I'm doing nothing but wasting time for at least a good minute. And what this does is that evenly distributes that active agent throughout all of the flour. If you just dump it in and mix your wet stuff in, you'll have all of your baking soda in one part of your recipe and not throughout. And then it turns out all wonky and people are like, I don't know what happened. Okay.
I know I've had bread like that you take a bite and you're like, why am I tasting something that's kind of bitter?
So bitter, because that's
because
all of the
all
leavening
the
agent
leavening,
in that one
gotcha.
spot. If you do that to your flour, mix your dry ingredients together like that, you won't have that problem. It has no choice but to evenly distribute. Our wet bowl, this is calling for 2 eggs. There's a good. Sugar. I put my sugar? Yes. 1 cup of sugar going in. What else is going in here? Our yogurt and our oil. 1 cup of oil, 8 ounces. And this is not olive oil, this is just canola, corn oil, sunflower oil. It's mild when it comes to flavor. It's not bringing any different flavors to this. And it's not as expensive as olive oil. And then yogurt I'm putting in.
Could you use olive oil?
You could use olive oil for sure.
I know that Zingerman's makes an olive oil cake that's really outlandishly good.
Yes, I love making olive oil cake. I would love to use olive oil in this because it would bring that olive oil flavor, which would pair with the lemon so nicely. But it's the apocalypse, so I'm saving my olive oil and using the corn oil and sunflower oil that we have.
Gotcha.
Canola.
So an oil that you wouldn't want to use would be something that has a flavor like a coconut oil?
Correct. That would definitely taste like coconut. I have put buttermilk in this cake before, and I don't have buttermilk, so I'm using Greek yogurt. This will also help the cake bread, stay moist if there's any hanging around for more than a day or 2.
Okay, so it's plain yogurt with no sugar in it?
Yep.
And a substitute for that could be buttermilk.
Could be buttermilk.
Could a substitute be heavy whipping cream?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
If you're going to do heavy whipping cream, do a 1/4 cup instead of a 1/2 cup.
Okay. So it's whatever you have on hand.
Exactly. Yeah.
But only those 3 things.
Very specific, but make your own choice. Yes. So I'm going to mix my wet bowl together.
Skycam.
Tipping.
So what little I know about cooking, I know from watching Meryl Streep do the Julia Child movie. And there was some kind of conversation about how to use the hand versus the arm when you're whipping things. Is that a true thing, or is that something that they made up?
It's probably not something that they made up. It probably is a French technique. And believe me, if you are whipping egg whites into a meringue or whipping heavy cream into a whipped cream in a large bowl for a lot of people, it takes a lot of elbow grease. A lot. So I believe whatever method they said, we're just mixing eggs, oil, and sugar and yogurt together. And I don't need to hold it over my head upside down to see if I passed. So these are all good things. So that's fine. That's incorporated enough. Now we're going to mix the zucchini and the dry mix and the wet mix together. Oh, I also wanted to add a little bit of this. We had fennel the other night. These are fennel fronds. And
fennel's like the licorice taste, right?
Licorice, yeah. And I think the licorice and the lemon would
excited.
taste really good together. And I want to add some in because I don't have any other use for that. And I want to use it up.
That's an interesting way to think about it.
If these were dill fronds, it would get me even more excited.
Dill and zucchini and lemon.
Yeah, I know, right? So yeah. Cool, let's see what this does. I'm just dividing it up between those 2. Okay, let's incorporate some stuff. We're gonna put
Oops, sorry, bad camera angles. I
some
take
of
full
our
responsibility.
zucchini in first. And I have my bowls reversed. In a perfect world, I'd love to have my flour in here and my wet stuff in the bigger bowl because I want to add the dry to the wet, but this bowl's going to be a little tiny, so I'm going to have to do it this way. My apologies. Put this guy in here too.
And you're just stirring that up with a spoon.
Yep, I'm not using a mixer. It's a quick bread. You can get it all done with a spoon.
All right, we'll do one more close-up shot when you're done with all that heavy-duty mixology.
Okay. This is looking, as a baker, a little wet to me. So I'm going to add another half a cup of flour with just a smidgen of our baking soda in it.
And that may be a function of how much juice was in the zucchini.
Exactly. And I used a lot of zucchini.
Oh, I feel really smart that she said exactly. I'm learning things.
And like all recipes, they tend to call for a pinch of salt, and like all of those recipes, I tend to forget to put the salt in. So there I am putting the salt in. Boom.
If for some reason you forgot to put salt into a bread, is there any way to fix that when you eat it?
Well, you can butter it with salted butter.
Oh, that's a good
That
idea.
would be my first. Dry spoon. Mixing that baking soda, I just went up like another half teaspoon of baking soda.
Oh, since you put more flour, you also needed more baking soda.
Yeah. Otherwise, I'd throw that ratio off. And now I'm going to sprinkle this in and mix it. Sprinkle some more in. Get the rest in there. And incorporate it. Okay, now we're going, that's looking much better. A little stiffer.
Hold on a second. I'm going to come in and let's see what that looks like.
Little matte finish. It was too shiny. It was glossy. And I knew that there's not enough flour in there. So now it might look the same to you, but what I'm seeing the difference is that now it's not shiny, it's a matte color. That's telling me that there's now enough flour versus the liquid in this recipe. It'll bake.
Gotcha.
Gonna take the bunt pan from my big fat Greek wedding. Boom. Forever change bunt pans for me. I'm going to spray the daylights out of this pan because it's got deep grooves. I love this pan, but I love things to come out of it. There.
What did you spray it with?
Olive oil spray.
Gotcha.
Put it right there. Gonna grab my...
So if you didn't have olive oil spray, could you just take a thing of butter? You know,
Yes.
Okay.
Take some room temperature butter and a paper towel. Smudge some onto the paper towel and work that paper towel into all of the nooks and crannies in there.
Okay.
And it will also work. Yeah. I want to do this towards you, but I will drop it.
you know, it's a home cooking show. You get what you get.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So have you been preheating your oven, Chef?
I have 350.
350. Okay.
Okay. It says it's going to bake for about 40 minutes.
I'm going to come in
But
and show everybody what that looks like.
really, the rule is when baking a cake, the question is, how long does it take a cake to bake? And the answer is until it's done. And that tells you that no matter what a recipe says, no matter what temperature, no matter what time, that your oven and your ingredients and everything about your altitude could come into play and determine when this is going to be done. So cake is done when it's done. I'm going to pop it in the oven. We're going to pause. I'm going to work on that icing a little bit, and I'll tell you about all the things I did when we come back.
Cool.